Welcome to the Trip Tales podcast with me, Kelsey Graves. Let's jump into a new episode exploring a vacation destination that you'll want all the details about. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 39 of Trip Tales. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving and is now enjoying the holiday season. We are full steam ahead in the hustle and bustle of December, which is fun and also a little crazy. So hopefully this podcast will help you take a mini vacation in the middle of your day, whether you are running errands or working out or folding laundry or driving to and from work. You might notice if you are a regular listener that I sound a little bit better. So I had been sick for like 5 to 6 weeks, honestly, ever since the Disney cruise, which is funny because I have an episode about how the Disney cruise didn't go quite as we expected. I believe we all probably got COVID, not sure, but those were the symptoms. And then mine just did not shake. So it was like weeks later, I think it turned into like a bronchitis situation. Went to the doctor once, got tested for strep. It was negative. Went back to the doctor after Thanksgiving. I think my entire family that I was with on 30A over Thanksgiving was like, please go to a doctor. Because it was just that like nagging cough that anytime you laughed or talked too much, you couldn't like catch your breath and you would cough. So I finally went and they weren't exactly sure. I feel like these things, unless you get a chest x-ray, you really don't know. But they gave me a Z-Pak, which is azithromycin, which is the antibiotic that really can kick pneumonia, walking pneumonia, or bronchitis. They gave me a steroid pack of prednisone and an albuterol inhaler. So I've talked to a lot of people that have something right now that they cannot kick, like people who have been sick for weeks and weeks and weeks. So if that is you, I highly recommend going to an urgent care and basically demanding a Z-Pak and a steroid because it's finally starting to kick it in me. And I just think my body couldn't fight it on its own. But enough of that. There is an episode coming up that will come out in a couple weeks. It's about a secrets resort. And I am still sick in that one because it was recorded a few weeks ago. So some of these episodes will sound better and some you'll be like, wait, is she sick again? No, it was just recorded a few weeks ago. But today I'm going to be sharing about our family's week-long getaway over Thanksgiving to the 30A area of Florida. Now, I'm not going to say I'm an extreme expert on 30A. Plenty of people here in the Southeast go every year or multiple times a year, especially if they have a house down there. But I've probably been 7 or 8 times, so I do feel like I have some good information to share. But first, I need to thank my most recent buymeacoffee.com supporter, Dr. Judy from the Stories of Change and Creativity podcast. She surprised me by supporting Trip Tales with 3 coffees. Fun fact, Dr. Judy was one of the guests on the Amsterdam Taylor Swift episode, which is such a fun episode. And I was recently on her podcast, Stories of Change and Creativity, sharing about my journey as a content creator and some of my best practices and tips I've learned along the way. It's not out yet, but be sure to check it out when it drops. Thank you, Judy, so much for your support. Just a reminder that buymeacoffee.com is a website that was created specifically for podcasters and creators like me. It's a super simple place to show your support for a creator, buy them a coffee, give them a pat on the back, and just show that you are supporting the show and that you love the content they are putting out. The link is always in my show notes. Okay, on to 30A. I'm sure most of you already know, but the 30A area is the stretch of coastline and beachy neighborhoods along Florida's panhandle between Destin and Panama City. It got its name because 30A is literally the name of the 24-mile scenic highway in Florida's panhandle that runs along the Gulf Coast and connects all these beach communities. There are tons of neighborhoods, with some of the most popular being Seaside, Rosemary Beach, Alys Beach, Watercolor, Watersound, and I'll throw in where we just stayed, Seacrest. Let's start off with the one and only negative just to get it out of the way. And it's that this absolute gem of an area is no longer a secret and it can get very crowded. The main road to get from point A to point B, 30A, can get quite jammed. So just know if you go at a popular time, overcrowding and traffic might be an issue. However, if you plan it right and pick your darling beach house rental in an area that you love and you don't necessarily need to leave very often, then you will be golden. This whole area started with Seaside. Seaside was the first planned beach community in this area, and it was developed in the 80s. It's still darling and beachy. Think traditional pastel beach colors and cottages. It has a great town center with shopping and food trucks and a big grassy area to run and play. But in my opinion, Seaside is now the most busy. I honestly steer clear of this specific area altogether at this point. The last few trips I've been down there trying to park or eat or even drive around Seaside was honestly maddening. So I'm over that area altogether. So, with Seaside being the original and first planned beach community, let's talk about the newest and most luxurious, Alys Beach. This is spelled Alys. Alys is modeled after Greek architecture and the breathtaking white beach homes, and architecture throughout is truly stunning and so fancy feeling. Alys Beach has a stretch of 30A that is perfectly lined on each side with tall palm trees, cobblestone paths, and it just feels so dreamy and special. They have some fancy markets and restaurants and a very tasteful white playground that's built into the landscape. I've never stayed in Alys, but it is goals and it is on my bucket list. Just to touch on a few more neighborhoods, Rosemary Beach has a European feel with a lovely hotel, restaurants, markets, and shopping. Watersound is high-end feeling with some fancy pools. Watercolor is very family friendly with tons of beach homes, lots of pools, and one family friendly pool called Camp Watercolor, which has a couple water slides, a lazy river, and a bar and grill. You can also kayak and do some other family friendly activities in Watercolor. We've stayed in Watercolor a couple times and have always really enjoyed it. And then there is where we have landed the last few times we've gone down to 30A, and that is Seacrest. Seacrest does have its own planned community neighborhood, but it also has a lot of homes that are just on side streets on the beach or across from the beach that are kind of on their own and not in this main community, but still considered in the Seacrest area. We like it because it is very close, walkable and bikeable to Alys Beach and Rosemary Beach, which are two of the most desirable communities, but it's kind of on its own. I should mention that all of these neighborhoods have beach access. So if you're in one of the actual planned community neighborhoods, which is fun because you have access to restaurants and pools, you will have beach access through that neighborhood. And then if you're in a place like Seacrest, where you're not necessarily in the planned community, there are beach access points along 30A that you can walk to, bike to, or golf cart to. I think the main priority when taking a trip to 30A is finding a house you love that fits your budget, and there are tons and tons of choices. Be within walking distance to the beach or have a golf cart or bikes to easily get there. And many homes have a private pool, which is something we absolutely love. You really can't go wrong other than staying in Seaside. But the plus of staying in Seaside is that you could walk or bike to everything that's there, so you don't have to get in a car and worry about traffic. So let's talk through my recent trip. My husband's family decided they wanted to spend Thanksgiving at the beach, so they generously booked a beach house in the Seacrest area of 30A. I'll share the house link in the bio, but it was great. It was called Namaste on 30A, Namaste like the yoga term, and had 4 bedrooms with king or queen beds and 2 queen bunk beds. It also had a private pool, which we absolutely loved. So how did we all get there? It was a little bit of a shuffle to get there because many different people were coming from many different places. We had a soccer tournament. We had a dance competition. We had people driving from Nashville. So everybody kind of had to choose their own adventure. But I was in Orlando at a dance competition. Surprise, surprise. I feel like I say that on this podcast more often than I should. So I decided to rent a car and drive from Orlando to Seacrest. Now, when I originally booked the car, I thought, oh, I think that's only like 4 to 5 hours away. Like it's in Florida. Well, when I actually pulled up the directions when I was in Florida to like get myself to Seacrest, it was 5 hours and 50 minutes. So with a stop or two, it was over 6 hours, which felt a little long. There are airports in Destin and Panama City, so there are lots of options to fly into 30A now. So if you are over an 6 to 8 hour driving distance, maybe consider one of those airports. I did want to share a fun car rental hack that I tried and it worked great, which is I booked my car through Southwest. So I didn't really know you could do this, but you can book rental cars through Southwest and it will give you points toward your Southwest points total. Now, in the past, I've almost always booked cars through Costco because they have the best prices. However, I've kind of been in a mode of gathering Southwest points because it's really the only airline we use right now. So when I logged into southwest.com and looked for a car rental, one of them, Avis, was offering 5,000 points if you booked through them. So I was like, jackpot. Why would I not do this? Also, my car rental was going to be a little expensive because I was going from one location, Orlando, to another location, Panama City. And those tend to be more expensive when it's a one-way rental. So that was giving me more points in return. So I went ahead and booked this car through southwest.com and it happened to be through Avis. Hey, Trip Tales listeners, I'll keep this short. If you're loving the podcast, leaving a review or buying me a coffee is the quickest way to show your support. And it will ensure that these amazing trip stories keep coming. Leave a review wherever you are listening to this podcast or buy me a coffee at the link in the show notes, and I'll literally do a happy dance when it comes through. Okay, back to the show. I had heard that if you join any car rentals loyalty program, which is completely free and just means you basically give them your email address, phone number, and download their app, then you are automatically entered into that service where you can bypass the car rental lines and walk straight out to the car rental lot. So I went ahead and tested this. Even though I didn't book through avis.com, I went ahead and signed up for the Avis app, signed up for the free loyalty program, giving my email address and cell phone number. And then I used my confirmation number that I got through southwest.com for my Avis rental, entered it into the app, and it pulled up my reservation. So now I was an Avis loyalty member. My reservation was in the app, and it told me I could go directly to the preferred area when I got to the airport. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw my little hiccup. On Instagram, I'm just my name, Kelsey_Graves. And I share a lot of my travel stories and real-time content there. I'm going to briefly touch on the story because it is so insane and hilarious. And sometimes I'm like, is this stuff happening to me because I chose to be a travel content creator? Because these stories, I couldn't write the stories better myself. So when I was heading to Orlando for this dance competition on a Friday morning, the Friday before Thanksgiving week, I got on a flight with another dance family and we were flying from Nashville to Orlando. Easy peasy Southwest. They fly this route multiple times a day. We're sitting with our dance friends. We've been on the plane for about an hour and a half. We're about to touch down. And all of a sudden they say, hey, everyone, the Orlando airport is closed. They are having a radar malfunction. We are going to Tampa. And we were like, what? The whole plane is like, what? So you can see on the airline flight path that we go towards Orlando, then just do a big old loop-de-loop and head towards Tampa. We land in Tampa and they're like, we don't know what's going on. Just hang tight and sit on this plane. Finally, they come on and they say, okay, the radar is currently broken in Orlando and the airport is closed. You can get off the plane in Tampa if you'd like, because Tampa isn't that far from Orlando. You could drive or rent a car to wherever you were going. However, we had a rental car scheduled, paid for in Orlando. So I didn't really want to get a different rental car in Tampa. I realized I could have tried to swap it. But the other catch was they said this plane is going to go to Orlando today and we are not getting bags off this plane. So if you have a bag you need that's under the plane, it will be going to Orlando today and you will have to visit the Orlando airport. So our schedule was going to be kind of tight. We had all this dance related stuff we had to be doing. So we didn't want to get off the plane in Tampa, make our way to the Orlando hotel, and then have to go back to the Orlando airport at some point that night to go get our luggage. So we just hung tight for a little while. To make a long story short, they basically were like, okay, the Orlando's airport is open again. We're going to go. Some people got off the plane. Most people didn't. We probably sat on the runway for about an hour and then we took back off and landed in Orlando. So, anyhow, I was happy that once I got to Orlando, my car was ready and waiting for me in one of the preferred spots, kind of up close. So, that hack did work, signing up for the loyalty program, even if you booked through Southwest or Costco or whatnot. So my daughter and I drove our rental car from Orlando to Seacrest. Took about 6 hours, but we got there pretty late at night on Sunday night and got settled into the house we rented in Seacrest. While we were down there, we lucked out with great weather. You do have to be careful when you rent in 30A because it is in the panhandle. If it's not one of the warmer months, you could honestly get cold weather. Some past Thanksgivings have been as cold as 50 and 60 degrees every day. We were just kind of rolling the dice and decided a change of scenery would be fun no matter what. You can still play on the beach in sweatpants and a sweatshirt if you want to in the sand, but we got about 72 to 74 and sunny 4 straight days that we were there, and that just felt like such a dream for the pool and the beach. I should share about who was all there. So this was my husband's family. So his parents, his sister, his brother and sister-in-law, their two little kiddos, and then our family of five. So there were 12 people total in this house, five kiddos. So at some point every day, the first 4 beautiful days, different people in our group would go explore the beach. For us, the beach was about a 5 or 7 minute walk, which wasn't too bad. We just walked down our cute street of all these beach houses, crossed 30A, and we were at the beach. So we pretty much walked that every time. Sometimes people would throw people in a car and run them down, but it was a fine walk and it was beautiful weather. Now I'm going to explain the beach in 30A a little bit. It's almost like you get up to the edge of the beach and there's quite a drop off to get down to the actual beach. Like the boardwalks, instead of being really long and straight out, sometimes they are almost like straight down, like 4 flights of stairs, pretty steep down. There's like quite a drop off to get to sea level, I would say. So you do need to be able to do quite a few stairs, especially at these Seacrest houses. If you had two guys or if you were feeling strong, you could like lift your beach wagons down these steps, but it's a lot of steps. So we would often park our beach wagon just at the top of the steps and carry our towels and beach chairs and beach toys on our shoulders down the steps. Also, I would say in general, the beach in 30A is a bit narrower than some other beaches in Florida. It's not too narrow, but it is, especially when it's high tide, it can feel narrow-ish. Now, where we were at, in Seacrest, it never felt crowded. There was plenty of space to spread out, and we had a great time on the beach. But just know that it isn't like a super massive wide beach. Also, I looked this up to try to figure it out, but some days the waves can be quite intense. A couple of the days we were down there, they were flying a red flag, which means like you shouldn't go in past your knees. And I know in this area there have been many stories where families or kids or even parents get like swept out to sea with undertow, which is one of the most terrifying things ever. I read that it's something about the panhandle water, and then there's quite a deep drop-off shelf in this area of Florida. My son even talked about it. Like you kind of are walking in and then you're like, whoa, that's quite a drop-off when you're going out swimming. So those things all mixed together can produce some really intense waves. So just know that if it was a red flag, we would just let our kids jump the waves and go into their knees or waist. But then one day we were there, it was totally calm and beautiful, and the kids boogie boarded. And so you can have both types of beach days there, but sometimes the waves do feel a bit intense to me. As I mentioned, we had a private pool, which I absolutely love having on 30A, especially with a big family and lots of kids. It's so fun to wake up and kind of ease into your morning. People can have coffee and breakfast, and then some of the younger kids can get their swimsuits and puddle jumpers on and get their day started swimming without the entire group having to get up and out the door. I know this makes beach houses a little bit more expensive, but in my opinion, it's a huge plus when you're going to this area. Also, now that my kids are getting a little bit older, I found time to relax in the sun next to our beautiful private pool, reading a book on Thanksgiving morning, having a mimosa. And that is just a huge bonus to traveling with big kids. This is new-ish for us because I still have a 7-year-old who loves, playtime. but she's got cousins and older siblings that will often fall into playtime with her. So being able to actually catch your breath and relax and read on a vacation in the sun, I'm just letting you guys know, those of you with littles, that it's coming and it is quite lovely. Our house also came with 4 bikes, which was really awesome because some days people would take the bikes and just go bike down to Rosemary Beach or Alys Beach. So all the houses comes with different things. Ours had bikes. They had like 10 beach chairs, which was amazing. So as you're looking at the houses, just kind of take note of the things they already have because that can also be a huge plus for your trip. Okay, let's talk about food. When we go to 30A, we get tons of groceries on the first day, everything we need for breakfast and lunches. So most days we're eating breakfast at the house, either a quick one like bagels and cereal, or we always also get eggs and bacon and all that yummy breakfast food to cook like a slower breakfast while we're getting our day started. And in this Seacrest area where we rent, like I said, we were just on a random street. It was actually called Seacrest Drive, which was funny. But it's not like we have access to a ton of like quick restaurants or anything, which you would get if you rent in one of the neighborhoods. So we also gather a lot of lunch foods as well at the beginning of the trip, sandwich supplies, chips, mac and cheese for the kids, wraps, all that quick stuff so that we can walk back after the beach or pack little lunches for the beach or eat poolside. So most days we did breakfast and lunch at the house with our groceries. There are like 5 Publixes in the area, so just kind of map yourself to the closest one. We had people run to Publix a couple different times. There's also a Walmart you can run to. And then because I love Instacart and I should get them to sponsor this podcast, but I do Instacart because I don't want to take up any time that I could be at the pool or the beach or chilling in this beautiful beach house. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but there are plenty of locals who would love to make a little money and get your groceries for you. So I place an Instacart order when I get down there for all of my family's food. I will mention one of the best donut places that I've ever been to called Donut Den is right in this area. And that is a fun thing to do one morning too. It is a large restaurant, so you can eat in if you'd like. You can get bacon and eggs and all that stuff, but it's really known for its donuts. So you can also just walk in and grab a box of donuts and walk out. So one morning, a couple people in our group ran to Donut Den, grabbed a big box of donuts for our group and brought it back to the house. I am not a sweets or a donut person. I've like always had blood sugar issues. I much prefer like a protein packed eggs breakfast, but these are the best donuts. So they have those dense sour cream donuts that are really hard to find, dense old fashioned donuts, like true old school donuts. There's no fancy schmancy croissant donuts or whatever, all the cronuts, all that kind of stuff now. They have tried and true original donuts like they used to be made. And if I'm going to have a donut, that's the kind I want. So Donut Den is where it's at for one morning on 30A as well. There are also a lot of great dinner spots, but they can book up quickly. So if they take reservations, make them well in advance of your trip. On this trip, we had a large group with a lot of kids, so we hit up an area called the Big Chill twice. The Big Chill is a newer, almost like food truck restaurant concept, all built around a central area that has picnic tables, Adirondack chairs, fire pits, a stage, and a massive big screen. They're often showing whatever football games are on that night. Sometimes they have live music and dance parties. And then surrounding the center area are all of these little walk up, quick service food windows where everyone in your group can order something different. So, first of all, most importantly, there is a bar. So that's kind of standalone. You can walk up to the bar. They've got all these fun custom cocktails, buckets of cocktails where you would like share with a group. You can just get like a glass of wine or a mixed drink. Then there's an all-American spot that has hot dogs, chicken fingers, burgers. There's a pizza spot where you can get individual mini pizzas for the kids or a large pizza for your table with all different toppings. There's a barbecue spot that has barbecue nachos and barbecue sandwiches and all the sides. There's a Mexican spot with tacos, burritos, queso. We got a triple dip one night, which came with salsa, queso, and guacamole to share with the table. That was delicious. And then there's my favorite, a seafood spot. This has crab cakes, and what they recommended to me, the best thing on the menu, they said, were their grouper bites. So these are tiny little delicious, flaky grouper bites that are like flash fried in a crispy outer shell, almost like fish and chips, but in little bites. They were so good, and they come with a dipping sauce that was incredible that we went to the Big Chill twice, and I got this exact meal twice. I didn't even try another walk-up window. So grouper bites at the seafood spot is where it's at for me. But everybody loved their food. My mother and father-in-law got like a bowl at the Mexican place where you can kind of build it like a Chipotle style. Everybody was super pleased there both nights. The second night, there was adorable live music being played, lots of country music, and the kids just loved dancing to that. So the Big Chill is where it's at to feed a large group, especially if you've got wiggly kids that need to run around because there's just kids running around everywhere. Oh, I should also mention that there's a cute candy shop. Just know that, parents. We had to stop in there a couple times. And there's a Build-A-Bear, which I was a little like, shield your eyes. We're not at a mall. We're not going into Build-A-Bear, but there is one if you're into that and you want to let your kids have a fun little experience, and a couple little boutique souvenir shops. I would say some of the best restaurants, especially if you're staying where we did, kind of near Seacrest, Rosemary, and Alys, are in Alys Beach now. So some of our fave spots from previous trips is George's. George's is a high-end, nice restaurant for like a date night. You could bring kids there, but it gets pretty crowded. It's kind of small, but it has a fabulous menu. You need to make a reservation in advance. But George's is an awesome spot. Citizen is a high-end, kind of modern vibe with seafood and oysters and craft cocktails. This is a perfect date night. And then back in Alys Beach now is an Oku Sushi, which this is becoming a bit of a chain. We have one in Nashville, and it's my favorite sushi by far. I didn't even know it was a chain. That's how good this place is. But there's one in Alys Beach. I haven't been to the one in Alys Beach, but I heard from a local when we were down there that it is the best sushi in the area. So you've got George's, Citizen, and Oku all in Alys Beach. Then over in Seaside is a classic favorite called Bud and Alys. I've been to Bud and Alys so many times. It's kind of like a family-friendly staple, although the menu is pretty high-end. Like, it's expensive seafood-style dishes on the menu, but very family-friendly, and they've got a back bar that overlooks some live music sometimes. You can get reservations there, so check that out. And then in Seaside in general, if you can get there and get parked, or if you can bike there, there's a lot of walk-up actual food trucks, grilled cheese, seafood, pizza, lots of different like walk-up windows and places to grab shrimp and all that kind of stuff. And then I just have to mention this place because it was so funny. If you are like a tried and true Florida lover who loves like those Florida dive bars, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were like, we're going to Dusty's. And me and my husband were like, what is Dusty's? Dusty's Oyster Bar is in Panama City. It was probably a 20-minute drive for us from Seacrest. And this is one of those good old Florida dive bars. You walk in and the entire ceiling and all the walls are covered in $1 bills. You literally cannot see one speck of the ceiling or the sidewalls. The last time they were there, the Vols, which is my brother-in-law's favorite team, he went to University of Tennessee, won the baseball championship. So in an orange marker, they wrote Vols #1 and their son's name, JB, on a bill and stuck it up there. And when we got there, we sat at the bar and it was right in front of us. So that was kind of fun and cool. This place is known for their like baked oysters, which I'm more into like raw oysters because we lived in New England for so long. And I'm used to like, they're like, they came in fresh this morning from Prince Edward Island. And I asked my brother-in-law, I said, do they say like where the raw oysters came from? And he looked at me and just shook his head and said, no, Kels, not here. He goes, they're all going to be from the Gulf. My husband ordered 12 raw oysters. And when I tell you they came out, when I get oysters, I like them to be small and like briny and like served over ice with like all my little accoutrements, like minuet sauce or whatever. These were the biggest oysters I've ever seen in my life. Like, they were, each oyster was like the size of 4 oysters that I'm used to taking down. I was a little like, not a chance I'm eating one of those. But he took down almost all 12 and he's still standing. They do have a lot of good like fried pickle chips, fried shrimp that we kind of all shared, that kind of stuff. And then my brother-in-law and sister-in-law who love this place get all the different baked oysters. So you can get them with like bacon and cheese and jalapeno, or butter and Parmesan, and they absolutely love those. So if you're like a baked oyster type person and a dive bar lover, Dusty's Oyster Bar is a place to hit up for sure. So outside of the beach and the pool, we did do a couple other fun things while we were there. On Tuesday night of Thanksgiving week, we saw Wicked. Me and my two daughters and my sister-in-law drove to Pier Park, which Pier Park is in Panama City, and it has a movie theater, a huge Ferris wheel, like so big that it's the enclosed, almost like a little gondola. Massive. We didn't go on it. My oldest wanted to, but my youngest didn't. And I was just like, we're not standing in this line for one of you to go on this. But if you have kids that love a massive Ferris wheel, there's that. There's a lot of shopping. It would be a good spot for teens because there's like tons of shopping, restaurants, California Pizza Kitchen, huge Ferris wheel, and a movie theater. So we drove over and saw Wicked. Let's have a moment for Wicked. I don't know if you are a fan, but oh my goodness. I've been a fan of the Broadway show ever since it was one of the first Broadway shows I saw in New York City with my family when I was growing up. I've seen it a few times since then with my husband and then with my daughter. And I was like so pumped for it because I'm obsessed with the soundtrack, just like so many people, and I know every single word. And I was like, I know this is going to be good, but it's probably not going to be like better than the play. It is probably the best movie I've ever seen in my life for so many different reasons. Number one, it's just like eye candy, like all the sets and the scenes and the Emerald City and Shiz University is so fun to see the set design and the costumes and everything they did with this movie. Everything's like pink and green and so magical. And then the singing is out of this world. Cynthia and Ariana Grande are next level. You've probably listened to or not to the podcast, to the soundtrack already. It is like I'm still listening to it on repeat in my car when I'm driving, and I just get chills all over my whole entire body. The other thing I was surprised by is it's almost the same word for word verbatim as the play. I did not expect that. I thought they'd do their own whole take. Now there's a couple other things that they've added in there here and there, but in terms of like the song and the overall script, it's almost the exact same, which is amazing that they could make such a different feeling movie and such a magical movie by using the same script. So anyways, just needed to have a timeout moment for Wicked because I'm obsessed. My husband and son didn't get to see it, so we're hoping it comes out to stream soon, maybe over Christmas, where we can watch it as a family at home because it was incredible. Then on Wednesday, we got family photos on the beach. We used a photographer named Shannon Braswell, who came recommended by a Instagram follower. She was so amazing and calm and patient with the kids. We're still waiting to get the photos back, but that is something we love to do when we're at the beach, get a little photo shoot done so that you can have your family photos done in a beautiful setting. I will say, I still haven't learned this lesson. I think I've gotten family photos done on the beach. I don't know, maybe 3 or 5 times now. Don't try to curl your hair. I do this every time. I spend 35 minutes curling my hair perfectly, hairspray, got it done. And the second you walk near that salty beach water, it's gone. They fall immediately. I don't know why I haven't learned this. You should just rough dry your hair, let it be a little wavy and blow in the wind, pull it back in like a cute ponytail or half ponytail. Don't try to curl your hair. All of us were like, why do we do this? So I've taken beach photos in like warm, humid weather. And then even down here, it wasn't that humid. It was November and it's still, our hair all fell. So don't curl your hair. But one fun thing is we saw Santa on the beach, and it was such a Santa and Mrs. Claus in this like gorgeous set that had been created. And the ocean was in the background, and people had clearly scheduled times. So I haven't looked that up, but I'm sure if you Google Santa photos on 30A, you could find it. It was a legit Santa and Mrs. Claus. We waved and we got a little wave back from Santa, but it just looked adorable. And if I went back for Thanksgiving or early in December, I would look into that because it seems like a super special photo op. Okay, Thursday, we woke up at the beach house on Thanksgiving morning. This felt super special and something that would be really fun to recreate in a future Thanksgiving week. It's just kind of fun at a beach house. We had the Thanksgiving Day parade going on the indoor TV and the outdoor TV. We had an outdoor TV that was around our outdoor patio chair. So people were having their coffee sitting outside and inside. Just fresh air. We opened up all the doors. So it was like an indoor outdoor feel watching the Thanksgiving Day parade. We made a fun big breakfast of sausage balls, which, if you aren't from the South and you don't know what a sausage ball is, I didn't know what one was before I went to college in the South, but it is the best breakfast ever. It's basically crumbled breakfast sausage, cheddar cheese, and Bisquick all mixed together. You make it into little balls. You bake it on an oven pan, bake it on a rimmed oven pan because I didn't, and the grease falls off the side. And you get these crispy sausage balls that are so savory and filling and delicious. The entire family, from the youngest to the oldest, gobbled them up. I loved them so much that I'm going to make them on Christmas this year. So we had some sausage balls and some eggs and fruit and just eased into our Thanksgiving morning. The adults popped some champagne and had some mimosas. Like I said, I had mine poolside while I was reading my book in the 73-degree sun beating down on me. I was like, this is an epic Thanksgiving. I should also mention that there is a turkey trot that happens every year on Thanksgiving morning in Rosemary Beach. So if you are a runner, there is a 1 mile fun run, a 5K, and a 10K, and it's quite a big to do. Now, it does start early, so some people in our group were considering doing it, but they would have had to get up at like 6:30 a.m. or maybe even earlier, honestly, because I think it started at 7 or 7:30, and there's really not any parking over there, so you have to like make your way there. But if you're a turkey trot lover or a runner, there is one every Thanksgiving morning in Rosemary Beach. My husband is a big runner, but since he missed it, we kind of did our own. So, one of the best things about 30A is that there's a walking path along the entire 30A stretch. People bike it, people walk it, people run it. There is always activity on the 30A path. Now, people are riding electric bikes on it, which is a little annoying because I'm a little like, you're basically like taking out the walkers and the runners. You got to look out for these electric bikes. I feel like an electric bike should go on the street. But anyhow, my husband ran towards Rosemary Beach and back, and I walked the path. And once he got back to me after running his 3 miles or whatever he did, he turned around and we walked together, and we walked through Alys Beach. And one of the best parts about walking along this 30A path is just taking in all these gorgeous beach homes, the sights. Some of them are decorated for Christmas. It is just a very fun and relaxing beach path. Alys Beach has a super cute market and restaurant called the Fonville Press. It's just so happening. You can order like chocolate croissants and actual hot meals. And there's a big bar you can sit around and have like a cocktail or a morning coffee. My husband and I browsed around that store for a little bit, and we were running low on coffee back at our beach house. So we got a bag of their coffee beans, and then they'll grind them for you on site. So we just went up and asked them to grind them. So we walked back with a fresh bag of ground coffee from Fonville Press, which was kind of fun. In the center of Alys Beach, there's a big grassy area where kids run and play. And just at the top of that is a massive Christmas tree this time of year, which was really fun. I got some pictures and videos of that. So I'll probably do a reel here soon on my Instagram with all the videos of Alys and Seacrest and everything we got into. And then we made our Thanksgiving dinner on 30A. So we had ordered a pre-cooked turkey from Publix that worked great. We just heated it through on one of our grills. It was delicious. Everybody loved it, and you really couldn't tell that we hadn't made it ourselves. And then everyone kind of pitched in to do the sides. Luckily, our house had plenty of cooking utensils, even like a potato masher, lots of dishes and dishware and bowls that we could put different sides in. So for us, it was easy, but we also knew that if there wasn't enough dishware, we could just go get the disposable tin roasting pans and 9x13s from the grocery if we needed them. But we cooked up mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, green beans, and cornbread stuffing. And we had all the delicious foods out. It was still warm enough to be indoor, outdoor, which was really fun. And people sat outside, poolside to enjoy their Thanksgiving dinner. And it was just a really fun and special evening. In the evenings, we would play games. We had a fire pit that was super fun to play games around. Some of our family favorite games, just because I know it's always fun to get a new one, is Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. If you have kids between the ages of 7 and like 17, this game just makes us cackle. It's a card game. It's just one deck of cards. I'm not going to try to explain it because it's kind of hard to explain, but it is so easy. My 7-year-old plays it, and my husband and I die laughing too. So, Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza is one of our family faves. And then they have a Christmas version that I brought down and surprised the kids with, which is called Santa Cookie Elf Candy Snowman. And it's the same game as Taco Cat, but it's just Christmas version. So that was really fun. We had a ball playing that. We also love the game called It's in the Bag. I'll link it in the show notes. This is great for a whole family. The premise is you've got a bag full of cards. So let's say there's 24 cards in the bag. The first round, you try to get your teammates to guess what's on the card by using as many words as you want. So you can say whatever you want to try to get them to say the word. The second round, you put all the same cards back in the bag, and this time you can only use one word. So you got to try to remember what's in the bag because you already know, and then they can only use one word to try to get you to say it. And then the third round, all the cards go back in the bag. So now you've been through 2 rounds of all these cards and you act it out. And for some reason, your brain, you're like, what was that? We were dying laughing. We had so much fun. I've played this with 2 different sides of the family now. It's one of my favorite games right now. So I'll put that in the show notes. And then last but not least is Blank Slate. Our kids are really liking this right now. Super simple game. You have whiteboards and markers, and you pull out something that says blank time. There'll just be a blank and a word. And whatever comes to your brain first, you're supposed to write on your slate. So I would maybe say dinner time came to my head first. And everybody, you'll think everyone will have the same thing, but everybody else will have different things. Like someone might say party time. And then you reveal what you wrote. And if you match with someone, you get points. There's all different scoring levels, but blank slate has been fun for us right now as well. And then night swims were a big thing. Every night the kids would swim. One night, even the adults got in. I brought glow sticks, which is a really fun thing to add to a night swim. Grab a pack of glow sticks on Amazon before you go, and you can start throwing them into the pool, and it just makes for a super fun evening swim. Our weather was gorgeous Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then Friday is when it really cooled off. I mean, it got kind of cold. Like it was like a high of 50. So in the shade and the wind, it felt like in the 40s. So we could have had that weather the whole trip. But on Friday, the guys went golfing. They went to a place called Origins, which is cool because they offer shorter courses, which is good for kids. They have these different options. You'd have to look up the Origins golf course in this 30A area, but you could do a 6 or a 10-hole option to not make it quite so long. So the guys all went, which included my son, who is 9. They did the 10-hole course, and my husband said it was perfect for him. It was easy, not crowded, and a great course for beginners. So they had all brought golf clubs down with them to do Origins. And then Friday, the rest of us attempted to shop. We wanted to get one of the most popular souvenirs from this area are these Seaside shirts. You've probably seen them, but there are t-shirts, sweatshirts that say Seaside and just kind of like a simple font across the chest. They are so popular up here. Like you see them almost every day up in the Nashville area. Well, I'd never gotten one. So I really wanted to get myself a Seaside shirt, even though I say I don't love the Seaside area. It's still like a fun souvenir because they make really cute clothes. The company is called the Seaside Style that you can buy these sweatshirts and t-shirts from. Well, there's only one, and it's smack dab in that shopping center in Seaside. So we drove over there. I'm telling you, we circled in bumper to bumper traffic for like an hour and then drove home. So it was also Black Friday. So keep that in mind. However, we could not get parking. We basically just drove around and didn't get to go to Seaside. We tried to go into Rosemary Beach, also no parking there. In our little area, Seacrest, we were able to pop into a souvenir shop, which was fun. But you can order all of these Seaside shirts, sweatshirts online, and they have even more sizes online because in store it can be very picked over. So I told my girls, I was like, okay, we wanted to go shopping for Black Friday, but it didn't work out. So we're just going to order it online. We did find out that there is a code. I hope it's okay that I share this, but it's called Seaside VIP, and that gets you 15% off. So I used that code and it worked on the website, and we just were able to calmly choose our souvenirs. Yes, we didn't have them the second we drove home, but we got them a few days later. So if you've been wanting one of those Seaside shirts, I got a corded sweatshirt. You know, it's like a ribbed corded sweatshirt, and it's light purple, like lavender, and it says Seaside in light teal letters. It is so cute. I'm wearing it today. My daughter got a white sweatshirt and my youngest got a purple t-shirt. So I'll put the link to the Seaside shirts and sweatshirts in the show notes. And remember, you can use code Seaside VIP for 15% off. And I honestly think that's about it. I think what makes this area of Florida so special are these adorable beach communities. You've got the original Seaside, which looks very traditional Florida beachy cottages. You've got Watercolor and Watersound that just have the most picturesque streets of gorgeous beach homes, gorgeous pools, walkable paths, restaurants and shopping. You've got Rosemary Beach that quite literally looks like it came out of Europe. Rosemary is windy and you kind of go around different corners to discover different areas. They've got some amazing restaurants. La Crema is a very popular one. They've got an incredible hotel called the Pearl that is very desirable. Then you've got Alys Beach, which literally looks like you're in Greece with this white curved architecture and flowers everywhere and ivy growing up the walls. It's so stunning there. Then you've got Seacrest that has even more beautiful beach homes, sometimes more affordable because they're right in between some of these more popular areas. And just having access to so many adorable beach communities throughout your stay, whether you want to go biking through one or go get a meal in one or go to a candy shop in one, they're all so unique and so cool. And they're all literally one after the other on this stretch of 30A, which is right across from the beach and all the beach access. There just really isn't another place in Florida quite like it. Also, there is an opportunity to stay on the beach in 30A quite a bit. A lot of these beach homes are beach front and you have your own steps to go down to the beach, which again is going to be quite expensive, but there is that option, which is pretty awesome to have a beach house overlooking the ocean. The drive home wasn't too bad. Sometimes it can be a lot of traffic because a ton of people are leaving that area, but we had a fine drive back. We did make a stop at Buc-ee's, which is becoming our favorite road trip stop. Buc-ee, the mascot, was there in a Santa hat, which was kind of fun, and we got a cute picture with him. We just love that you can load up on like a chicken and veggie fajita taco, a filling burrito, a brisket sandwich. My youngest randomly loves the chicken Caesar salad, which is hilarious. We had just eaten, so we just filled up on snacks to kind of power everybody through the rest of the road trip. Some of our favorites are the Buc-ee's Nuggies. I love the white cheddar Buc-ee's Nuggies. It's like Pirate's Booty, but way better. Their gummy bears are insane. They're randomly like really big and delicious and soft. So the Buc-ee's gummy bears. We love the cookie dough bites. The jerky is really good there and all of their like trail mixes. So that's always a fun stop for us. And then we got home and the next day was December 1st and it was time for the flipping elf to come. And I was like, what is happening? I feel like a lot of us felt this, but I did not love how late Thanksgiving was this year. I feel like it was Thanksgiving and then it's like full steam ahead. It's like Christmas is coming way too fast. And I'm just not here for the late Thanksgiving. So that's kind of thrown me for a loop. But overall, I loved spending Thanksgiving on 30A and I highly recommend it. Okay, you have to stay tuned for next week's episode because it's my 40th episode. And for my 40th episode of Trip Tales, we are going to be revisiting my 40th birthday trip to the Riviera Maya, a resort called Atelier Playa Mujeres. A lot of the girls that went on that trip are going to join in on the recording. So we're going to have lots of different perspectives and stories and funny moments from my 40th birthday extravaganza to Mexico. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next week on Trip Tales. That wraps up another episode of Trip Tales. If you have a trip you'd like to share about on the podcast, email me at triptalespodcast@gmail.com, and I'll add you to the schedule. Also, be sure to follow the show so that you don't miss any upcoming vacation destinations. And if you have an extra minute in your day, please leave a review for the podcast. It helps more than you could imagine. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of Trip Tales.